A big congratulations to everyone who took the June LSAT and got your scores back today. I hope that you crushed it. If you did, congratulations. It's time to take a well-deserved break, then switch gears and focus on your application essays. The good news is, of course, you've got the entire summer to work on your application essays for all your different schools, and then of course you can apply to law school at the beginning of the cycle in the fall. However, if you're not yet done with the LSAT, if you decide that you want to retake, of course, there are several more test dates this calendar year alone. You have August, September, October, and November. I'm going to focus this conversation on August and September LSATs specifically, since they are the next two LSAT test dates coming up. You've got the August LSAT roughly 6 weeks away. You have the September LSAT about 2.5 months away. So don't rush to take it in August if you feel that you would benefit from having more time in order to achieve your fullest potential. You could take the LSAT in September and still apply perfectly early this cycle. Of course, taking the LSAT in August would let you apply 1 month earlier. August LSAT scores come back at the end of August, and applications to law schools typically open September 1st or September 15th, but you will not be at any significant disadvantage if you delay things by a month. You get your September LSAT score back at the end of September, and you could still apply very early this cycle. Of course, the June LSAT was the last LSAT administration with logic games on the exam. Starting in August, going forward, there are no more logic games on the LSAT. The logic game section will be replaced by a second scored logical reasoning section. Now, of course, law schools won't care if you took the LSAT in June or prior with logic games. They won't care if you take the LSAT in August or beyond without logic games and with the two scored sections of logical reasoning instead. It's all the same to them, of course, due to their incentives. Law schools are simply evaluated based on the highest LSAT score of their matriculating students. The American Bar Association and U.S. News are not looking at LSAT test scores with games or without games, just as they did not care if you took the LSAT on paper or on a tablet or the temporary LSAT flex format versus the 4-section LSAT format. It is all the same to them. It's also all the same to them in terms of incentives when you take the LSAT, whether you're taking it in June as your last LSAT or you take it in August, September, October, November, January, February. All of those are totally fine. Whether you scored higher on a version of the test with logic games or without logic games, they really could care less. They trust LSAC when LSAC says all versions of the LSAT are roughly equivalent, which is only true to some extent, of course. It's not really without difference, or else LSAC never would have bothered to include logic games on the LSAT in the first place, of course, right? And similarly, they would not have denied the appeals or the requests for accommodations from the blind test taker who contended that he was at an unfair disadvantage because he couldn't benefit from diagramming logic games the way other test takers could. Of course, that ensuing lawsuit is what forced LSAC through a negotiated joint settlement agreement to commit to removing logic games, which is why, of course, there will not be logic games on the LSAT in August or beyond. Excuse me for going on the tangent here. Bottom line, long story short here, August LSAT 6 weeks away, totally fine. September LSAT 2.5 months away, totally fine as well. So consider whether you would benefit from having that additional month, those additional 4 weeks, to devote more time to logical reasoning, considering, of course, that any gains you make in your understanding of logical reasoning will be doubled across the two scored sections of logical reasoning on the LSAT. Less material for you to study going forward on the LSAT. You can narrow your focus, no more time devoted to logic games, put all that additional effort into logical reasoning, and you should see a big boost in your score. At LSAT Unplugged, of course, we have adjusted our courses to focus a lot more on logical reasoning. Given the change, you can check out the links below the video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.